She dipped her hand into the calabash in front of her and pulled out a very large snake. The snake has beautiful scales, patterned like those of a peacock.
This is your goddess of wealth. I will give you a bag with her inside. Every time you sleep with her, she will fill the bag with money the next morning. You must ensure you sleep with her at least 2 times in a week. No one must see her except you. Have you ever wondered how far a person would go to achieve wealth and power? In a city where ancient traditions intertwine with the mysteries of the night, a man uncovers a secret so profound it defies understanding. When the moon reaches its highest point, something extraordinary happens, forever changing the fate of a family and an empire. This story involves unimaginable sacrifices, difficult choices, and dark secrets gathered for generations. In a duel of cunning and courage, 2 brothers face off in an epic journey where only one can claim the ultimate prize. Are you curious to know what lurks in the darkness of the midnight? Don't miss a minute of this fascinating narrative that will grip you from the beginning to the end. Click now and uncover the mysteries that await you. Once upon a time, in the fabulous city of Edo, there lived a very wealthy businessman named Mayor, who had a highly successful company with branches all over the country. However, Mayor had 2 sons who were twins and were born on the same day. His wife, Esther, died while giving birth to the twins. So, Mayor loved and cherished them greatly. The first son was named Uche, while the second son was named Emeka. Both sons grew up to be very intelligent and smart, but their personalities were completely opposite. Emeka was very kind and compassionate. He cared for the poor and offered help when he could. Many people loved and admired Emeka, but Uche, his brother, was very rude and lacked compassion. He despised the poor and looked down on them. Emeka felt privileged to have so much and always helped the poor, but Uche believed that only lazy people were poor. Mayor noticed that Emeka was very passionate and everyone loved him. So he wanted him to be the successor of his company. But Uche was the older twins, and by rights, he should take over the company when Mayor retired. This issue gave Mayor many sleepless nights, but after thinking for a long time, he decided to create a competition between Emeka and Uche, and whoever that won the competition would be the heir to his empire. One day, he called his 2 sons to a very important meeting. Present at the meeting were his 2 sons and his lawyer. You have grown to be very intelligent and smart, and I am very proud of you both. But as you know, I will be retiring soon, and one of you must take over my empire. The question is, who will it be? Immediately, Uche smiled at his father's questions and abruptly interrupted him, not waiting for him to finish. I believe we all know the answer to that question. I am the firstborn, and by right, I am the true heir to your empire. Really? Asked his father. You are only 5 minutes older than your younger brother. If the heir to my empire were decided based on age, you both should have equal ownership. What do you mean? Am I not your firstborn? You both are my sons, and I love you equally. His father replied, I feel it will not be fair for someone to inherit my empire based on age. I want you to show me that you are capable. So, what do you propose? Uche asked. Good question. Since both of you are single and not yet married, a saying goes, behind every successful man, there is a woman. Are you saying we have to get married first? Yes, whichever of you gets married first will be the true heir to my empire. Uche laughed joyfully at his father's proposal. He felt it was a very easy task. That's not a problem. I will bring you a wife before the end of the week. Meanwhile, Emma just sat and listened attentively to everything his father was saying. Emma, don't you have anything to say? Mayo asked. Emma smiled at his father's question and replied, You are a very wise man, Dad. If your empire is the prize, I am ready. I am sure the task will not be easy. I am eagerly waiting for the terms and conditions. Mayor smiled at Emma's words and applauded his intelligence. Then, he gestured for his lawyer to hand each of them a document. From now on, you both will no longer have access to your father's wealth. A stipulated amount of money will be given to each of you. It will be enough to rent a house and feed you for 3 months. Mayor continued, You have 1 year to bring home a woman who genuinely and truly loves you, even as a commoner. You have enough money to feed yourself for 3 months, and in those 3 months, you should be able to get a job that will sustain you for the whole year. Emma smiled at his father's words, calmly signed the documents, and promised his father that he would not disappoint him. Then he stood up and left the room. But Uche, on the other hand, sat in anger. How do you expect me to find a wife in less than a year with crumbs? What kind of house can this money buy? Uche complained. However, Mayor told Uche that his decision was final, and that if Emma may return with a responsible bride before him, then Emma would be the heir to his empire. You have 1 week to vacate my house and go in search of a responsible bride, said Mayor, and he left. Emma went into his room and started thinking of a way to find a virtuous woman who would genuinely love him for his personality and not for what he has. After contemplating for a few hours, Emma decided that he would go to a far city and pretend to be a crippled man. He told himself that if any woman could love a crippled man, she would definitely be a good wife. So he began to think of the right city to visit. Meanwhile, Uche was agitated by his father's words. He was very upset and angry because he despised the poor and therefore couldn't imagine living among poor people as one of them. Instead of thinking of a way to achieve the goal of finding a virtuous wife, Uche began to think of ways to deceive his father into giving him the inheritance, regardless of his decisions. He went to see his father and tried to persuade him to change his mind. I am the true heir to your empire. Father, why are you trying to deny me my birthright? Mayor smiled at Uche's arrogance and pride. My parents died when I was 10 years old. They left me with absolutely nothing. Your mother and I had to build this empire with our blood and sweat over the years. You should be grateful for being where you are. Are you trying to say we should suffer like you did because you suffered? You must learn to be grateful for what you have and what you are given. Bring me a virtuous woman to be your wife and inherit my empire. How hard is that? Mayor was deeply hurt and angered by Uche's words, and in anger, he instructed his security not to allow either of his sons near to his company or house until after the 12 months, which was the deadline he gave them both to find a virtuous wife. Emeka was a very generous man and had helped many people in need, so he had many people he could turn to for help. He remembered an occasion when he helped a man named David, whom he saw standing on the road with a sign asking for a job. He helped him to secure a job in his father's company. So he went to David's house and found David. He told David that he wanted to understand what it was like to be poor, that he was looking for a small village with good people. David laughed at Emeka. He thought Emeka was joking, but when he realized Emeka was serious, he told Emeka about a village called Oya, not far from his hometown. The people of Oya were well known for their benevolence and generosity. I think you will like it there and also learn a lot. David convinced Emeka. Emeka deeply thanked David for his assistance and went home to pack his things for the journey to the village of Oya. He went to the market to buy some local clothes and a wheelchair as well. After that, he began his journey to the village of Oya. He arrived at the village after a few days, found an unfinished building and changed into the local clothes he had bought. Then he started practicing how to use the wheelchair. He practiced for a week until he could move around with it. Then he entered the village in the wheelchair, pretending to be crippled. Emeka rented a small house that was isolated from the main village so that no one could monitor him. He divided the remaining money into 2 parts and kept half for his food. The next day, Emeka wheeled around the market to make sure no one could recognize him. But he discovered that the people of Oya were quite the opposite of what David had described. Most of them were rude and high. Only a few villagers were welcoming. However, the village of Oya was full of many opportunities because its economy was thriving. Emeka observed the market for a few weeks and decided to venture into the business of selling vegetables. He noticed that there was a lot of profit in this venture and that it wouldn't be too difficult for him as he was pretending to be a crippled man. Emeka woke up at 5 a.m. to visit vegetable farmers and bought vegetables from them very cheaply. Then he would go to the market and display his products. At first, his business wasn't doing very well, but as many people began to know Emeka and see how kind he was, his business started to thrive. Emeka was making some money and also began to save. Meanwhile, Uche, unlike Emeka, went to a very large city called Akuko-Edo, far from the city of Edo. Akuko-Edo was well known for its extravagant lifestyle, and only the elites and prominent men lived there. In less than a month, Uche squandered all the money that Mayor had divided between him and his brother. He began to live in misery and poverty. He went from frequenting clubs and spending money on women to cleaning bathrooms and working as a gateman. One day, Uche couldn't take it anymore. He told himself that his father was very rich, so why should he be suffering in some random city? However, he knew he couldn't go back. He remembered that when he had first arrived in Akụkụ Edo and was mingling with the elites and millionaires in high places, he had heard about a woman named Olamma who could turn a peasant into a billionaire. It was said that most of the millionaires in Akụkụ Edo had gained their wealth through her, but her rules were strict and the price to pay was not fair. Many people who gained their wealth through her ended up losing their lives or going insane within a period of 3 to 5 years. Uche thought long and hard and decided that he would consult Olamma to become very rich. With the wealth he would gain from her, he would marry a beautiful woman and take her to meet his father, Mayor.
The next day, he began his search for Olamma. It didn't take long because she was quite popular and known for her spiritual powers in Akụkụ Edo. When he arrived there, he saw many luxurious cars outside. Unlike other sorcerers who lived in hot and shabby places, Olamma lived in a very large and beautiful mansion. Olamma warmly welcomed Uche and gave him great hospitality. It was as if she knew Uche was hungry and exhausted. She ordered her maid to serve him a delicious meal with various wines. And after he finished eating and drinking, Olamma took Uche to a very large room with a king-sized bed and asked him to sleep and rest. While Uche slept, he had a dream. In his dream, he found himself in a bright white room. He saw Olamma sitting on the floor with a calabash in front of her. She gestured for Uche to sit in front of her and then said to him, "I know you are here for wealth like your peers, but I can see that you come from a rich family. The men who come seeking for my assistance are men with no hope of success in life, but you are different. I am on a mission to prove my dignity, and I cannot do this without money. That is why I need your help, Olamma." "Oh, really? I would advise you strive to complete your mission without my help. But if you insist on getting my help, I will have to grant your request." "I insist. Make me rich, make me prosperous, make me an influential and prominent figure." "I must warn you, there is a price to be paid, rules to be followed, and there are consequences and repercussions if you deviate or fail in carrying them out. I am willing and ready to take any tax as long as I remain rich." Olamma laughed at his determination. She dipped her hand into the calabash in front of her and pulled out a very large snake. The snake has beautiful scales, patterned like those of a peacock. The snake lathered through her hands and crawled towards Uche. Uche was terrified and tried to move, but Olamma warned him not to move. With great wealth comes great responsibility and courage. If you cannot face a mere snake, how can you handle great wealth? Olamma said. The snake suddenly stopped and transformed into a very beautiful and sexy woman.
Her eyes were blue and her skin was as smooth as silk. The woman sat next to Uche, holding his arms, as if they were married. "You are lucky. She had accepted you. This is your goddess of wealth. I will give you a bag with her inside. Every time you sleep with her, she will fill the bag with money the next morning. Whenever you need money, just open the bag. She will crawl out and transform into a woman, and you will return her to the bag when you finish sleeping with her. Uche smiled at Olama's words. He believed the task would be very easy. All I need to do is sleep with such a beauty, and I will be rich. Why didn't I come to you before? He said to her. There are 3 rules you must obey and follow. Number 1, you must ensure you sleep with her at least 2 times in a week. Number 2, no one must see her except you. What is the 3rd rule? I will review it in due time. The woman transformed back into a snake and crawled into the calabash. Immediately, Olama closed the calabash and Uche woke up from his sleep. It was already morning, and when he checked the time and date, he realized he had spent 3 weeks in Olama's house. When he left the room, he saw Olama waiting for him in front of the room. She gave him the same bag that was shown in the dream, and then reminded him not to forget the rules she gave him. Uche thanked Olama and safely took the bag to the small room where he lived. He placed the bag inside the wardrobe and at midnight opened it. The snake came out as Olama explained and transformed into a very beautiful woman. Uche slept with the woman, who was the snake, and she returned the bag after Uche finished, exactly as Olama had shown him. The next morning, when Uche opened the bag, it was full of money. He couldn't believe his eyes. He was very happy. The first thing he bought was a very large shelf, in which he placed the bag that Olama had given him. Uche began to live in a great style. Every night he slept with the snake and was rewarded with money. He became very popular in the city of Edo, and many women wanted him, so he had no trouble finding a wife for himself because of his wealth. One day, Uche met a very beautiful woman named Jennifer, whom he admired and adored deeply. He decided to take her to the city to meet with his father. He approached Jennifer and told her that he loved her and wanted to make her his wife. She looked at his expensive clothes and luxurious cars. She was impressed by his wealth and agreed to marry him. Uche took Jennifer to his house, but when they entered the room, he was shocked to see Olama inside his room. Jennifer couldn't see Olama. Uche quickly left the room and went to the living room, where he found Olama already waiting for him. What is the problem? Why are you here? I have not broken the rules. I have not broken any rules so far. You are about to break one of them. The 3rd and the most important rule is that you must not sleep with any other woman beside the snake. If I can't sleep with any other woman, how will I have children? You told me that you were determined to pay any price. This is one of the many prices you have to pay. The moment you betray the snake, you will go mad and eventually die. Stay tuned for the part 2 of this story. Uche felt his world shattering around him. He had thought the task would be easy, but now he was faced with an impossible choice. Olama's stern warning echoed in his mind, and he tried to come to terms with his predicament. Why didn't you tell me about this 3rd rule earlier? Uche demanded.
Olama's expression softened slightly. I wanted to test your resolve. You asked for wealth and power without considering the sacrifices involved. True riches come with great costs. Uche sighed deeply. So I can't have a family. I can't love any woman. Olama shook her head. You can love her, but you cannot sleep with her. The bond between you and the snake must remain unbroken. This is the nature of your deal. Do you understand? Jennifer, obvious to the conversation happening right in front of her, looked confused. When Uche returned, "What is wrong, my love?" "Nothing." Uche forced a smile. Let's just go back to Akukedo for now. Over the next few weeks, Uche tried to balance his double life. He kept Jennifer close but never allowed their relationship to progress to the point where he would have to break the rules. He continued to sleep with the snake, ensuring his wealth continued to grow, but the strain of maintaining the facade began to wear on him. Jennifer noticed change. "You seem distant," she said one evening. "Is something troubling you?" Uche, unable to share the truth, simply reassured her with vague promises and empty words. He felt trapped, his dreams of a normal life slipping further away with each day passing. One night, as he was preparing to sleep with the snake, he heard a knock on his doorstep. He quickly hid the bag and opened the door to find Jennifer standing there, tears in her eyes. "I know there is something you're not telling me," she said. "I can't keep living like this in the dark. Please, tell me, what is going on?" Torn between his love for Jennifer and his fear of Olama's wrath, Uche hesitated, but the desperation in Jennifer's eyes pushed him to a decision. He led her to the living room and sat her down. "Sure, there is something you need to know," he began. "When I came to Akukedo, I was desperate for wealth. I made a covenant with a powerful woman named Olama. She gave me this wealth, but in return, I have to sleep with a snake that transforms into a woman. It's the source of my wealth and riches." Jennifer shouted, "A snake? You are sleeping with a snake?" Uche nodded, shame flooding his eyes. "And if I ever break this covenant, I will lose everything, go mad, and eventually die. That's why I can't be with you the way you want." For a moment, she was silent, absorbing the enormity of Uche's confession. Then, without a word, she stood and left the room. Uche watched her go, feeling a mix of relief and despair. The days that followed were treacherous for Uche. She avoided him, and his once thriving social life began to crumble as rumors about his strange behavior spread. The wealth that had once brought him joy now felt like a heavy burden, trapping him in a life of isolation and deceit. One evening, as Uche prepared for another night with the snake, there was a commotion outside his house. Peeking through the window, he saw Jennifer leading a group of villagers, their faces light with determination. Uche rushed out. "We know the truth. We have come to free you from this curse." Panicked, Uche rushed to the bedroom to hide the bag, but it was too late. The villagers stormed in, their eyes widened at the sight of the snake, transforming into a woman. "Stop!" Uche shouted. "You don't understand. If you interfere, I will lose everything." But the villagers, driven by fear and superstition, seized the bag and threw it into the fire. The snake let out a blood-curdling scream before dissolving to ashes. In that instant, Uche felt a searing pain in his head. He collapsed, writhing on the floor as his mind was overwhelmed with the visions of madness. The last thing he saw before losing his consciousness was Jennifer's strict face filled with regrets. When Uche awoke, he found himself in a small dark room. His head throbbed with pain, and he struggled to remember what had happened. Gradually, the memories came flooding back about the snake, the villagers. He was in a mental asylum. He erratized with horror. The curse has taken its toll, just as Olama had warned. Stripped of his wealth and sanity, Uche spent his days in a fog of confusion and despair. Back in the village of Oya, Emma's life had taken a different turn. His vegetable business had flourished, and he had become a beloved member of the community. His kindness and generosity won him the heart of the villagers, and he found himself living a simple but fulfilling life. One day, he was tending to his vegetable stand. He received a letter from his father, Mayor. The letter brought news of Mayor's downfall and a plea for Emma to return home. Mayor, now a broken man, needed his son's wisdom and strength to rebuild their family empire. With a heavy heart, Emma decided to return to Edo. He bade farewell to the people of Oya, promising to visit them whenever he could. As he made his way back home, he couldn't help but think of the lessons he had learned, that true wealth came not from money, but from the love and respect of those around him. Upon his return, Emma was greeted with open arms by his father. Together, they began the task of restoring the family's business, this time with a focus on integrity and compassion. Emma's experiences had taught him the value of humility and hard work, and he had determined to live by example. Years passed, and the family empire grew stronger than ever, built on the foundation of Emma's principles, though he never forgot the tragic fate of his brother. Emma found solace in knowing that he had stayed true to his values. In the end, it was not the wealth or power that defined Emma's legacy, but the kindness and generosity that had guided him through life's trials. And so, the story of the two brothers served as a timeless reminder that true riches lies not in material possessions, but in the strength of one's character and the love of those we hold dear. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to our channel and drop a comment. Thank you.